What's up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. We just got Randy's car pushed in the shop. We got a few things to do to it. We're trying to race this weekend at Piedmont, maybe go testing possibly tomorrow at Galot. The rain chances look like they're the best to not hit tomorrow night, Thursday at Galot. So if we can get everything done tonight on this, we may go check out Galot, try to make a couple passes since we were unsuccessful last weekend. So let me show you what we got going on. Comment, like, and subscribe. Go to turbojohnracing.com to grab yourself some merchandise. Appreciate it, guys. All right, guys, so we got a couple things we're going to do. Randy went ahead and ordered some of the TBM spacers, so we're going to put the spacers on. Bryan had to put a strap up here from where it threw the belt off last time, so that's about the perfect tension. So the way this thing is set up here, we're going to have to triangulate off of this one somehow to make it so we can adjust it this way as well. So we're going to try to work on that. We did check the oil, and so looking at the oil, we got our little check valve in there. And so, you know, we're still flooding the turbo with oil, and there's plenty of oil in here, so that's a good thing. But I think what is happening, and you know, I took some good pictures, and I reached out to Kevin Mullins up at TKM, and we were chit-chatting for a little while. But if you look, the turbo, the drain is actually, the turbo is below the oil pump, and so the drain is going uphill. And so you generally go, oh, well, I don't know if that's a problem or not. What we think is happening is this is off of the scavenge pump. So it's 3 stages. There's 3 scavenges, and so 2 are coming from the oil pan. So this pump is barely above the height of the oil pan. And so then you got this great big number 16 line here. So imagine this car running. This thing's running, pumping, pop, 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 sucking oil out of there, sucking oil out of here. It's making it rise up, and it's sucking it into the pump, into the scavenge like it should. But then, what happens when you turn the car off? So all the oil in this line, so that is a lot of oil. So that goes in to this spot right here. All the oil that is in these lines being sucked, now they're going to either remain there or either possibly drain to here. It depends. But I think what's happening is the oil is draining to the turbo. And so we're fixing to find out. We put this check valve on here last year, trying to stop that from happening, and we thought that was working good, but the turbo is a little bit lower. The oil tank is higher as well, so that gives more gravity pressure. That's what we think is going to happen. So the first thing we're going to do is pull off this drain line and see how much oil comes out of that drain line. If not a lot of oil comes out of that drain line, then we know that's probably not the problem. The other thing we're going to do, which I hadn't really thought about, there again, Kevin at TKM, he suggested this. This is the oil feed line, so now we got this pump. So think about it when you're priming the car. If you're priming the oil system, you're also priming the turbo, but the problem is the return is not going. So we could be flooding the turbo when we do that. Kevin said on one of his old cars, I think it was the red car that had twins, they had to do that. They had to actually put a check valve on it, or a dry brake, so that every time when they were priming the motor dry, they didn't have an issue. So Randy ordered one of those. So we're going to put that on, and we're going to see if we need to loop this line. If this is the problem, the solution, what we think is to make it so that there's just a heel. So make this so that it comes up maybe camshaft height instead of going straight up, and then that way it'll be like a roller coaster heel, and maybe it won't backfeed into the turbo. All right, let's see what we got.
I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired.
Okay, guys, so I just pulled the drain line off of the turbo, and that's not much oil. I was expecting a lot more oil than that. So Bryan just pointed out, every time that it has smoked the most is when we have primed this. So that little bit of oil in the line mixed with priming this without the pump, maybe that's the only thing. So that is, comes in through the F. Is what we felt like it blowed the best. But that thing, oh yeah, check that out. What kind is that one, Bryan? Was that Vibrant?
Yeah, Vibrant.
That was a Vibrant -6. Oh, check that out. And it's a quick disconnect.
You can put the other side on first.
So that ought to, oh yeah, check it out. And then each time, we just have to be careful not to break it, but it's a push lock dry brake. And so that's what Kevin was saying that they did on theirs. And basically just when we're using this Peterson primer, it's just not going to flood the turbo with oil. So we do have oil left in the tank, so maybe the ball valve. And the reason he took the check valve off is the reason the check valve was on there is because last year we were flooding the turbo and we didn't have a ball valve and we didn't have all this stuff. So we thought, you know, that's what we needed to make it so that it didn't flood the turbo with oil. So I guess we'll find out. This might be, it might be just that easy. So I put the drain line back on, but you can see it is definitely, the drain line is way below the pump. If this doesn't work, then the next solution where we're at is to put a electric scavenge pump on it, which we don't necessarily want to do, but I mean we might have to. Shoot, I don't know. Hopefully this will be the solution to where we stop killing mosquitoes with oil. All right, so Bryan's over here. He got the other spacers that are from TBM, and you see it's a bigger. This is steel, not aluminum, and so it's going to bolt right there, perfect. And then this goes in between the bearing and the seal, but the seal rides on that, is from what it was saying, and so that's how you get your spacing. So it's perfect all the time. Those other ones, the little aluminum ones, we'll use those for a spare as a backup, but hopefully we're not going to need it. That right there that's pretty tricky right there. All right, and I just got this Mark Mickey shifter apart, and it's not too complicated. Well, that's not really a true story. It is. Oh, this is not Mark Mickey. This is Precision Performance. That's not too bad. It's just got a few bolts. It's a module that holds it in. The actual shifter goes in there, and it's just got like a little pin that just goes in there, and it just stays in captive. So it's not too bad. So we're going to change this shifter cable real fast. All right, guys, so we got the shifter cable installed. Randy, you've got a red cable. It matches all your other red stuff. That's a B&M. We didn't know if it was going to work or not, but it was actually the exact right one. And so what it was doing before is it was just getting locked up and it wouldn't go to first. But now it pops right in, no problem at all. And then shifts automatically. And then it's set. And of course, you go up under there, and I was under the car. He was going through all the gears. And that's one of those things that sometimes you have to kind of play with it. And we had to adjust it a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. God, that shifter is very complicated to get where you want it to go, it seems like. It's got to be in the exact right spot to get it to neutral. All right, so the shifter is done. Bryan has the other wheel spacers on it, and that thing spins pretty free. And something we found out too, somebody had mentioned about how it had a lot of rolling resistance. It does initially, but then they kind of break themselves in and they get pretty good. So that one is spinning pretty good. So Bryan is now working on the support thing over here for the oil pump. So he's just gonna make it, oh, that looks nice. So he's just gonna make an adjustable threaded rod just to triangulate it so that we can put tension where we want it to get the leverage. So he went ahead and installed this. This thing right here is freaking trick. And we decided that we did not need the check valve there. And Bryan had a good point. I was just gonna stick it in line. But with this thing, essentially, at the end of the night, I mean, all we got to do is just disconnect this, and there's no way. But taking this loose and cutting that off up there, hopefully that's the problem. Bryan brought up a good point too. Both of the times we oiled the turbo the worst, whereas right after we primed this thing. So when we primed it, that seems to, I think that's probably the ticket. since there was not much oil in that drain line. I was expecting a lot more oil in the drain line, but it's not. So that's probably not what the problem is. It's probably that feed. So that's a good thing, hopefully. So Brian, we're gonna go to the track tomorrow night.
Looks like it.
Hopefully. It looks like we're doing good. Randy's just tightening up the seats now. What else we gotta do to it? All you gotta do is put that bracket on. That bracket on, and Randy, is there anything else you remember or think of?
It's all good, man.
I screwed with the tune-up some the other night at the house. I've got new, fresh spool-up tune-up. So I think it'll be fine. And something I did find, too, and I hadn't told Randy, I don't know what happened, but at some point, the way I do my timing graph, the way I pull timing, I've always pulled 25 degrees of timing on this thing to make it to spool up. And I was just like, that's just what I've always done. And so I had 38 degrees timing of base, that I would always have 38 degrees of base timing while it was spooling up. And then, of course, once it got past the launch boost, then it drops back to normal timing. So somehow, I don't know, there again, the bad thing about computers is it does what you tell it to do. The good thing about it is it does what you tell it to do. So the bad thing is at some point, I must have changed the line. And so at 5 pounds of boost, whereas previously I had it at 10 pounds of boost, that's where I started dropping the timing on the timing table. And so I had 38 degrees of timing at 10 pounds of boost before. So while it was on the two-step, we had 13 degrees of timing to spool it. So at some point, I made the change. It had 28 degrees of timing at 5 pounds of boost. And so now when you do that math, it only had 2 or 3 degrees of timing. So you get the oil charge and the 2 to 3 degrees of timing being pulled out. And that was 100% why it backfired. So when it went spool up. So interesting. So Brian's over there now. I'm gonna have to weld a little spot on there. I know they just painted this front end, but they'll have to just touch that little spot back up. He's not going to grind, but just a little bit, enough to tab it on. So I guess we're done, guys. All right, comment, like, and subscribe if you're close to Galat. Tonight, y'all gonna see this on Thursday. We'll be out there. Later, guys.